Hey there, future CMAs. Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped to have you here today. We've been working our way through general, application, and broad technology controls, but right now, we are diving into what is arguably the single most critical topic of the entire bunch. We are talking about backup controls. I really want you to think of this as the absolute life insurance policy of any accounting information system. Because look, when things go wrong, and let's be real, out in the real world, they always eventually do, backup controls are literally the only thing standing between a company's survival and a complete, utter operational collapse. On exam day, the testing centers don't just want to know that you can hit the save button. No way. They want to know exactly how data is backed up, the specific methods you'd use, and the rotation schemes that keep the whole shebang secure. So let's get you ready to crush this on test day.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today's Explainer. Surviving the data disaster, the 3 backup methods, the GFS rotation scheme, the 3-2-1 storage rule, and we'll wrap it all up with a real CMA exam practice question.
All right, Section 1, Surviving the Data Disaster and the Ransomware Threat.
Before we get bogged down in the technical mechanics of all this, we really need to understand the high stakes involved. Like, why do these controls actually matter beyond just passing a certification test? Well, I want you to step into the shoes of a chief financial officer for just a second. Picture this. It's the final day of the quarter. Tensions are already sky high, everyone is stressed, and suddenly, boom, your IT department gets hit with a ransomware attack that completely locks down your entire ERP ledger database. What do you do now? If you have a rock-solid backup control strategy in place, this terrifying scenario is honestly just a minor operational headache. But if you don't, it is a literal existential threat to your entire company.
As a future CMA, you've got to understand that backing up enterprise data is essentially a giant puzzle. You have to design this cost-effective, highly secure strategy that perfectly balances 3 critical constraints: storage space, backup speeds, and recovery times. You literally cannot maximize all 3 of these at once, which means, as financial leaders, we have to make some tough strategic choices. Moving on to Section 2, the 3 backup methods: full, incremental, and differential.
Let's dive right into this and break down the big 3 methods you are absolutely guaranteed to see tested. To make this super easy to visualize, let's just assume a hypothetical company does its massive main backup every Sunday night and then uses a different strategy during the regular Monday through Friday work week. Okay, method 1 is the full backup, and this does exactly what it says on the tin. It copies every single file and piece of data on the entire system. Now, the obvious catch here is the size. Because it copies absolutely everything, a full backup takes the longest amount of time to run, and it completely eats up your storage space. That's exactly why companies usually only run full backups once a week, like on our hypothetical Sunday night, or honestly, sometimes just once a month.
Next up, we have Method 2, the incremental backup. An incremental backup only copies the data that has changed since the last backup of any kind. So let me give you an example. On Monday night, it backs up Monday's changes. On Tuesday night, it only backs up Tuesday's changes. The upside to this is fantastic, right? It is extremely fast to run daily and uses barely any storage space. But you really have to watch out for the downside. Because if your system crashes on Thursday, restoring your data means you have to restore Sunday's full backup plus Monday's tape, Tuesday's tape, and Wednesday's incremental files in exact chronological order. If just one of those daily sequential tapes is corrupted, your chain is broken and you are in big trouble.
And that brings us to Method 3, the differential backup. Now, pay close attention here. This one copies all data that has changed since the last full backup. So on Monday, it backs up Monday's changes. But on Tuesday, it backs up both Monday's and Tuesday's changes. By Wednesday, it's backing up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It snowballs. The upside? Restoring your system is incredibly fast. If you crash on Thursday, you literally only need 2 files, Sunday's full backup and Wednesday's differential backup. The downside, of course, is that because it accumulates all that data all week long, each daily backup gets progressively larger and takes a lot longer to run than a simple incremental backup.
This visual perfectly illustrates exactly how these 3 methods stack up against each other. Go ahead and take a mental screenshot of this right now because it beautifully summarizes the trade-offs you need to know. Notice how full backups are the slowest to perform but give you that rock-solid comprehensive baseline. Incremental gives you the absolute fastest backup speed and uses the least space, but man, it gives you the slowest restore time. And then differential just sits right there in the middle. Slower daily backups, but much faster recovery times. Understanding the push and pull of this table is absolutely your key to mastering this section of the exam.
All right, Section 3, the GFS rotation scheme, also known as grandfather, father, son.
So, once you actually have your backups, how do you manage the physical or cloud media they're stored on?
I mean, a company can't just buy thousands of hard drives every year and never reuse them. That would be a staggering waste of money. To manage all this media cost-effectively, companies use rotation schemes. And the most famous one, the one tested heavily on the CMEA exam, is this family tree mnemonic: grandfather, father, son. The son represents your daily backups, usually your incremental or differential runs, which are done during the week and then just overwritten the very next week. The father is the weekly full backup run at the end of the week. We usually keep these for an entire month. And finally, the grandfather is the monthly full backup run on the last day of the month. These grandfathers are archived and stored safely off-site for years to meet legal and historical requirements. This tiered system is just genius because it gives you quick access to recent daily history, weekly snapshots, and long-term historical records without costing an absolute fortune in storage.
Section 4. The 3-2-1 Storage Rule and Off-Site Critical Controls. Okay, I want to pause and point out a major exam trap right here. A lot of students think that simply running a backup is enough. But imagine you do a perfect backup, and then you leave that backup drive sitting right on top of the server rack in your main office. If the building burns down, your backup burns down right along with it. To prevent that kind of nightmare, modern best practice dictates the 3-2-1 rule. The first part of that rule is the number 3. You need to keep 3 complete copies of your data.
The second part of the rule is the number 2. You absolutely must store those copies on 2 different types of media. For example, keeping 1 copy on a physical local hard drive and another copy floating up in the cloud. You have to diversify your hardware risks so one glitch doesn't wipe you out.
And finally, the number 1. You must keep 1 copy completely off-site. This is an absolute, non-negotiable necessity. It is an essential backup control. Usually, this means taking those weekly fathers or monthly grandfathers we just talked about and storing them in a physically separate, secure, climate-controlled off-site vault or putting them in a completely separate cloud geographic region. The crucial takeaway here is, never, ever let a localized disaster wipe out your safety net.
Section 5. CMA Practice Question. Let's lock this in.
We have covered a ton of ground today, and you are doing absolutely brilliantly. So let's apply exactly what we've learned to a real multiple-choice question you might actually see on test day. Ready? An organization wants to implement a daily backup strategy that minimizes the amount of time required to perform the daily backup run, even if it means that restoring the system after a failure will take longer. Which backup method should the organization choose? Now, what's really interesting here is how the question explicitly hands you the constraints. We are hunting for something that minimizes daily backup time, but totally accepts that restoring the system takes longer.
Let's eliminate the wrong answers systematically, just like we would on the exam. We can immediately cross out A, the full backup, because we know for a fact that takes the absolute longest time to perform daily. We can cross out B, the differential backup, because as we learned, it snowballs. It accumulates and grows larger and slower to perform as the week drags on. We can also cross out D, the grandfather backup, because that's a monthly archival scheme, not a daily backup method. So that leaves us with C, the incremental backup. Incremental only captures the tiny changes since yesterday, making it the fastest daily backup run. But because you have to chain all those daily increments together to get your data back, the restore process takes much longer. That perfectly matches the constraints in our question.
Incredible job working through that. I am so proud of the progress you're making. I want to leave you with this final thought for today. Passing the CMA exam, that is just step 1. But saving your future company from a total, catastrophic data meltdown, that is step 2. The knowledge you are building right here, right now, has profound, real-world applications. So I have to ask you, are your own personal files truly backed up right now? Remember those backup types, master the grandfather-father-son hierarchy, and please, embrace that 3-2-1 rule. Keep up this amazing study pace, and I will see you in our next explainer.